And we're back.
Thank you very much for joining us. This is Salt of the Streets Part 2. My name is Donovan.
I'm Colin.
And we're happy to have you here. You are watching us here on our youtube.com/Salt of the Streets. I don't think that's /Salt of the Streets, but it's youtube.com. Search for Salt of the Streets.
Yeah.
And you will find us.
We're not big enough yet to have our own YouTube / yet.
Excuse me.
You got to be real big.
You will find us. Go there. Look for Salt of the Streets. We also have our Instagram at Salt of the Streets and our Patreon, patreon.com/Salt of the Streets. Go there. Sign up. Help us make more, better content like this. We just dropped our 11th newsletter yesterday, which is an article written by Colin and I individually. And we had the beer show live stream yesterday.
That's
we
right.
had the review preview that drops today right here on our YouTube. Share, like, subscribe to this content here to help us make more just like this. All this at saltofthestreets.com. You can find all this information right there. This segment is brought to you by Location Skate Shop in downtown Bremerton. If you need a skateboard, you're in the local area, go there. Zeke,
my man.
Thank you very much for joining us. You are just in time for part 2, sir.
Shit's about to get real, boy.
That's right. It was just local stories, so that's okay.
I always get super nervous with this.
It's tough. It's a tough one. You got it. This
They're
is a
heavy,
good looking.
bud.
The growler, yes. I will usually hold it a little bit like a football and kind of put one
Word.
finger through the ring.
Yeah, I'm
and
like super
just-
nervous about this
Yeah.
because of like all the shit.
It is tough. That's a no. That's so clear.
Okay, so this is the illustrious beer I've been preaching on for like weeks now. This is the Icarus Pale Ale from Silver City Brewing.
Right.
Cheers, buddy.
Sir.
It is one of their seasonal brews. It has become one of my favorite. It's fucking fire, dude.
That's very good.
Like it's slightly hoppy, not too much.
Right.
It's got a good balance, a good
Yeah.
everything, man. And it's like 6.8, I think. It's not too crazy, but
Not bad.
it's up there. It's good shit.
Not bad.
Yeah, good stuff.
Okay.
So I had before we kick off, a couple things. I wanted to ask you about this. Have you ever gotten or heard about Dr. Squatch soap?
Of course, I watch YouTube. Of course.
Okay, right. Have you ever used it? No. Okay. I have become a Dr. Squatch fanatic.
Oh God. This is not an ad, by the way.
I'm like a huge soap guy now.
Well, if it is, I don't know about it. But
It's not. I wish it was. They're a big enough company. Smell this.
with the stuff in it, I like soap
Yeah.
with things in it.
They have different levels. This is a heavy grit soap, and it's got oatmeal in it and sand.
What's the scent?
This is pine tar. Now the crazy thing about this, it doesn't look like that now, but if you get it wet, it's black as night, and when you're washing yourself with it, literally it's black.
Yeah.
Like it's wild, but it's fucking
How
awesome.
long does it last? Because I had a piece of soap like that once made out of goat's milk, and it did not last very long.
They don't last that long.
Yeah.
They don't last that long, but you know, it's because it's not synthetic detergent, as they say on the commercial. This is real life soap.
How much is it?
You could buy them at Walmart now, and I think they're about $5 or so. Or
How
you can
long
get
does
it
it
from
last?
about a week,
That's it?
maybe. I don't know. No. Let's
For
think
a
about it.
regular-
Probably 2 weeks.
A bar of Dove soap will last me like a month, probably.
You know what? It really depends on how manly you are and how much hair you have. Because obviously, if you're more hairy, it rubs that shit off more.
Right, okay.
And of course, because I'm the manliest of all men, which I'm not wearing plaid today to justify that.
Right. You get your Eddie Bauer shirt
I got
on.
my Eddie Bauer shirt on, which means I'm not doing very well in this department.
I
But
don't have any chest
no,
hair.
it's fucking phenomenal, and I've become such a.
It smells good.
It's legit, and they have all sorts of different, scents and types, and you can have heavy grit, medium grit, no grit. It's pretty sweet.
It seems like you wouldn't really need to wear cologne, if your soap smells that like strong. You probably wouldn't need. I don't know if you wear cologne anyway.
I do.
Don't.
You know, I got a nice bougie one. Carolina brought it back from
There you go.
Canada.
You seen the Versace I got, brother? Versace's nice.
Yeah,
So,
you know,
it was a
bougie,
present
bougie.
too. Yeah, it was a present.
Hey, this seems like a very dude thing to have be gifted cologne.
I told Jordan that's what I wanted. I said I want cologne. And I don't want to pick it out because I don't want to pick one that I like. I want one that you like.
It's not really for me.
Yeah,
right. It's for everyone else in my orbit.
So I tasked her with it, and she, stresses about presents, and then because my birthday and Christmas, so always wants like them to be special and unique and fucking whatever. So she's always tripping until like the last minute, and she's like, I just don't know what to get you. I want to get you that thing, blah blah blah. Fucking get me cologne. I want cologne. Just go and fucking buy cologne.
How long does your average cologne last you? About a year?
I think I'm probably just over a third of the way done with this one, and I got it for Christmas last year. So,
well,
you know,
year and a half or so.
yeah,
good,
pretty
good
good.
overlap. You know,
right? Maybe
like
2
that.
years. I think I could probably get out of this one, which is pretty good. I don't know how much it was. Obviously, it was a present. It
Yeah.
wasn't cheap, but it wasn't like $100.
They don't fucking give that shit away, man. It bothers me.
No,
Unless you want to go like the industrial strength, like Brute, you know, that you
Right.
buy at the drugstore or whatever.
Axe, you know, or Axe body spray.
Bro, I was a teenager once.
Yeah.
That's it. When I was a teenager, like
Oh,
when I was, when I first started to go through puberty and shit, that was when Axe first started to come out, and so everybody at my high school smelled like shit.
Yeah.
Just like that. Junior high, high school, it was
Horrific.
everybody smelled like fucking hairspray on Adderall.
Gross.
Whatever Axe smells like, it's not good.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, let's.
Okay. So first, I actually want to talk about.
You like the beer though?
Yes.
What do you think overall about it? Just a nice, generally rounded pale ale.
Yeah, it's pretty bold up front, you know.
Yeah. And then it chills the fuck out though.
Yeah.
This is why like you could sit there and drink a few of these.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stanky.
stanky.
Says. Yeah. So I want to talk about Jan 6 and the Oath Keepers, right? Because we were going to talk about January 6th.
Oh yeah.
Today, but the January 6th
Rain
select
delay.
committee, yeah, there was a delay because, and it's Steven Crowder, I think, hit on it really good, like very dry. But the committee hearing is in D.C., right? And then
Do your best impression of how. Do your own announcement of it in your best dry Steven Crowder persona.
I don't remember that.
Just do it.
So yeah, because the D.C. hearing was happening in D.C. and there's a hurricane in Florida, and so they had to call off the hearing because of the hurricane in Florida.
The day before the hearing.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm not really sure what the deal is with that, but yeah, they canceled the hearing in D.C. because of the Florida hurricane. I believe Steven Crowder surmised or guessed that it was because of the ratings, right? They don't want to miss out any ratings because obviously that's the only thing anybody's talking about is the hurricane, obviously, which everybody's fine.
I believe there was even one of the dailies even mentioned something like that. Like they did that because they didn't want to. They wanted to make sure that when they did that, you know, everybody had an opportunity to view this most auspicious event, and so they didn't feel like it was fair to the people of Florida that they wouldn't be able to participate in this and be able to view this, and so we had to delay. And we still to this day don't have a date.
So we were going to talk about January 6th, about the new updates, because they were supposed to go over new evidence and cover some new video footage and things like that, and that didn't happen. But there's also the beginning of the first jury trial for a group of Oath Keepers, right? And the Oath Keeper is like some militia group. It's who fucking knows? Any of these, you know, the 3%ers, any of this bullshit that these fucking guys do.
They're a loud and annoying militia group.
Yeah, and when you're, I don't want to delegitimize anybody, but when you're that big,
Got to be smart.
I'm not into it. So, so
How effective can you be as a local militia if you're that big?
the point is, why we want to talk about this because we think that it's really important, and I think the conversation that we had with Joseph last week or last episode made a very legitimate point that there are political prisoners in the United States right now, and it's something that should be more prevalent, and the discussion about it should be happening more often. So we wanted to try and bring more light to that, and the Oath Keeper thing specifically we will go over more because there's like an audio clip that I want to play and stuff. And the Oath Keepers, a lot of the stuff that they're being accused of sounds like a lot of the shit that you guys listen to us talk about every time you're here. And that's why I want to talk about it, because if those things, just simply owning body armor and buying weaponry and saying that you think a civil war is going to happen, if those things are considered seditious conspiracy because you're in a certain location, then I think that should tell us something about the conversations that we're having and the way that they're being interpreted by the federal government and the powers that be. Not that we don't know that already by the domestic violent extremist labels and things like that, but so when I heard the way that they were describing that, just simply the conversations that he was having, the leader of the Oath Keepers, it sounds an awful lot like the conversations that we are having here. So
Yeah.
because of that, because we're all having these conversations, I think it's important that we all know what these people are going to potentially spend time in federal prison for. And I talked to Colin either in the first part or before the show about the interview that I watched with Marjorie Taylor Greene, talking about the way that the January 6th prisoners are being treated. Some of them have been in solitary confinement for 18 months since just after January 6th, and will continue to be in solitary confinement until they get their trial date, which for some of them is not, a year or more from now. So this is extremely dark treatment, and to think that that's happening for purely political purposes in the United States should not only concern us because we're having this conversation, but should concern anybody because it's happening for political reasons, and it can happen to you if the people who are in power don't like what you have to say. So we will go into that more probably the next episode, because I would expect the January 6th hearing would happen before then.
Yeah.
But if not, just know this is something that we will be tracking. We are going to be talking about this because we think it's very important.
Yeah, and the Oath Keepers trial will have actually really kind of kicked off. Right now, they're doing jury selection stuff, so there hasn't really been any major movement on that, unless you're one of those people that have a great legal mind and like to pick through jury selection. But again, if you're going to be charged in Washington, D.C., you're only getting one kind of juror anyway, so it's not a... I don't like where this is going to go, but also I will add that part of the reason these people are being treated this way and in this manner is because of where it was at.
Yes.
There's a reason why the everyday militia guy isn't getting picked up somewhere else, or even one of the larger who's the guy who was on IRL recently, has another big militia survival group. I can't remember his name. Mike Glover. He was not in that. He was not there at that time, putting himself in that position. So he is not being pursued with that great reverence, even though he is also on the domestic extremist list and shit like that. So
his group and everything.
Yeah, so he's getting a different degree of it. But a lot of this stuff, I think, really only stems from them being at that time and at that place, being right there. And that, I mean, it's very interesting to see, because it obviously is a very selectively assessed situation.
Right.
And so, yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll be following it. We'll be watching. I would imagine some of legal YouTube, like Viva Fry and shit like that, will be streaming those things, and I'll be trying to watch as many of those as I can, so we could be as tuned up as possible.
Yeah.
For that trial. And then, of course, to go, like you said, hand in hand with that, the next installment of season 2 or season 3. I forget what season we're on at this point. We're season 3 of Jan 6.
Yes.
Which they got to hurry, because they're about to lose Cheney. They're about to lose Cheney, and if the writing on the wall is any indication, that select committee is not going to be around very much longer. So, season 3 is going to be a shortened season, obviously, and I don't think we're going to get a return to season 4.
Right.
So we'll see.
So now let's talk about some fraud.
Right?
Let's start with the PPP fraud, just because that's what I have here first. So if we will all remember, take a look back, the PPP program, the payroll protection plan, was a government program established because the government shut everyone down. And so because you were going to have to lay off all your employees, like because you were potentially during the pandemic, it's right, pandemic era government program, so to help small businesses avoid firing their employees. Instead, you were just supposed to lay them off and keep paying them, so they didn't also have to go on unemployment, because the unemployment system was so insanely overloaded and fucked during that time. So this was the scraps, essentially, comparatively, that were thrown to the plebes after the massive bailouts of the corporations that are now fucking you over. Hello, airlines. Hello, airlines. And right, at the end of the day, I don't think that we will ever have a full accounting of how much money was taken from this program, was like stolen from this program. But we will find out.
Yeah.
I don't know that we'll ever even know how much money was taken from us by the government, and then in turn by whoever defrauded the government after that. So we'll find out. But we have just a couple of different examples of different PPP loans. So let's see. This one is from Missouri that I have, and this is actually a woman who did a whole bunch of types of fraud, and one of them was PPP fraud. So she was pled guilty. She's pleading guilty of embezzling $727,000, but she also admitted to fraudulently applying for 3 PPP loans worth $40,000. So that was just on top of all the other types of fraud that she was doing.
There's layers here.
Yeah, this particular article, this is the one that I was telling you about, is from the Chicago Tribune, and I'll actually send this one to you. And it is about a group of inmates, actually, that applied for PPP loans over the phone while in prison.
Oh, love that.
And then, check this, and then used the money for bail. They bailed themselves out of jail with PPP money.
All they would have had to do was wait till they started releasing everybody.
Yes.
They would have gotten out just fine. Didn't have to steal any money.
So Joliet police and federal authorities have arrested 15 people for filing fraudulent PPP loan applications while in custody in Will County Jail on felony gun or drug charges. Law enforcement officials said some people used jail phones to complete the PPP loan process. Some sent the PPP money to bond out of jail. About 24 individuals have been indicted in the investigation dubbed Operation Triple P. Authorities said at the news conference 15 had been arrested as of Wednesday and another 10 had warrants out for their arrest. Most of the fraudulent loans for $19,000 to $20,000. Authorities said many of the suspects were already incarcerated for felony offenses when they filed for the fraudulent loans. During the course of the investigation, it was discovered that some of the targets being investigated were in custody and used jail phones to complete the fraudulent PPP loan process. The majority of suspects had open felony cases, which would disqualify an applicant from receiving a PPP loan. Bank records also indicate some of the suspects used the illegal loans to bond out of custody. So
they really had a lock on this shit, apparently.
Oh, yeah. They're fucking balling out, right?
And also, we know now that when you get the call, hey, this is a call from so-and-so detention facility, nobody's listening on the other end. Because they didn't find out until afterwards.
Right, not right then. And then this article that I'm sending you now is from NBC, and it is entitled
Fucking ads.
Biggest Fraud in a Generation, the looting of the COVID relief plan known as PPP. So this whole article is about, obviously, as the title says, the amount of money that was taken from this. And in the third paragraph, they came into their riches by participating in what experts say is a theft of as much as $80 billion, or about 10% of the $800 billion handed out in the COVID relief plan known as the PPP. That's on top of the $90 billion to $400 billion believed to have been stolen from the $900 billion COVID unemployment relief program. Okay, so
that's almost half.
Yes. Yep. It could no. It could be as much as 10% or as much as like almost half. Anywhere from 10% to 47%, roughly. That's how much it could be that was stolen from the unemployment program. Yep.
For fuck's sakes, bud.
Yeah.
This is your taxpayer dollars at work right here.
At least half taken by international fraudsters. Yeah.
Balling. Thank God you got to pay taxes so that the government can just throw away approximately 47% of it.
And maybe get back a fraction of it.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to get all that money back.
Because all these things, they all pled guilty, right? But these are all plea deals, I'm sure, that'll come down. So they're not going to get back the full amount.
And people have spent the money. If you spent the money and you're going to spend time in prison, you're not going to pay the government back $40 billion.
No.
You're $40 million or even $2 million. You're not going to do it. It's never going to happen. No.
Oh.
And another $80 billion potentially pilfered from a separate COVID disaster relief program.
Oh, somebody bought themselves a Ferrari,
Yep,
dude.
just under the picture. Even if the highest estimates are inflated, the total fraud in all COVID relief fund amounts to a mind-boggling sum of taxpayer money that could rival the $579 billion in federal funds included in President Joe Biden's massive 10-year infrastructure spending plan. Literally more than what we're going to spend on infrastructure is what was stolen from us during COVID. Right? It's what the government allowed to be stolen from you because they blew the fucking doors off these programs. We're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't take 5 seconds to think of a better way to do anything. And I don't want to talk about it too much. So,
that was a big thing at the time. It was like, you guys, we can't be doing this.
Well,
Somebody like Rand Paul and all that. We're like, you guys, we need to know where this money's going. Everyone's like, you just hate America.
Yep.
You hate the people of America because you don't want to help them during their time of need.
Yep.
This is what you get, man. This is the government doing their finest fucking work.
Yes.
Good God. There's so much money.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Much of the losses are considered unrecoverable, but there is still a chance to stanch the bleeding because federal officials say $600 billion is still waiting to go out the door. But we need more. right? In the article that I have from NPR that talks about the spending program, one of the sections is what's not in it. And it's like, there isn't funding for any more COVID shit or vaccines. There's still $600 billion that has yet to be spent from the money we already allocated from that. And of the money that has been spent, half of it has been stolen. Why should we give more money? Why should we put more money into these programs?
What are we talking about? What is this? Is insane.
We're talking about fake numbers. None of this is real. It's all fucking fake.
This is fucking mind-blowing.
The Biden administration imposed new verification rules last year that administration officials say appear to have made a difference in curbing fraud, but they acknowledge that programs in 2020 sacrificed security for speed needlessly. So we didn't need to do it. And we're acknowledging that now. We didn't need to do it, but we did do it.
You could have just let everybody keep going to work.
And now here we are.
Oh my God.
Yep.
I tell you, dude, this whole era is going to go down in the history books as probably the killing blow, the slow bleed that led to the downfall of America. This has massive consequences. Yeah, inflation is high now, but we're only just starting to feel this bullshit, man. This is all stemming from this exact time.
And we've already, so it also says that nearly 10 million PPP loans have already been forgiven. So can you imagine how many of the fraudulent loans have already been forgiven? So these are just the ones that we know about that have been caught, right? But if you're really good at it and we weren't able to catch you, then you already made however much money you made on the PPP loans and we forgave it. So you don't have to pay it back because you kept your fake employees, right?
Yeah, man. That's fuck.
Yes.
Like, it's just,
there's another article from Fox Business. The SBA doled out $684 million in PPP loans to potentially ineligible nonprofits. Those are just to nonprofit companies who shouldn't have got it. That's not even fraud. That's just people who weren't eligible, applied and shouldn't have got it.
And I'm not about to shill for the government's ability to recover all this money, but
fuck no, they're not going to do it.
But there's no way they could. There's the amount of manpower you would need to run all of these investigations. It's surprising that they've been able to get as many as they've been able to get so far.
Do you know what we need? 87,000 more IRS agents. That's how we get back this money.
Maybe this is going to be their job.
Yeah,
wrong.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be coming after your ass. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Good Lord, man.
So let's talk about some food aid now,
well,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you have a whole database, right?
So this is a database from a private firm, Arnold and Porter, who I'm assuming has been contracted by the government to litigate some of these cases. But they have an entire database of cases ongoing from, you can see here the program PPP, PUA, EIDL, which I don't know all of these, but like the vast majority of these things, with a small summary of how much and what it is they're potentially, the case against them.
Awesome.
So you got 337,000. Alexander, some crazy Polish name that ends in ski, is alleged to have used fictitious charitable entitles or entities such as Love and Bliss Inc. to fraudulently apply for loans. I mean, it's a really good database if you want to have an idea of a lot of these cases that they're litigating. I mean, there's hundreds of these things, man, and they tell you 8.8 million. Oh my gosh, Benjamin oh man, I don't know that one. Pled guilty to falsely submitting EIDL and PPP loan applications on behalf of his company, Bencho Jewelry Inc. Oh, you're a jewelry company. In the application, he falsely claimed that Bencho generated as much as $758,000 in revenue, had been operating for 20 years, had 78 employees, and an average monthly payroll of over $350,000. Through his false statement, he obtained more than $850,000 in PPP loans and used the money for gambling, vacations, and other personal expenses. Balling. That's just a small sample.
Balling.
That's insane, dude. That's nuts.
So isn't that wonderful?
Isn't that just great?
So let's talk about some food aid, right? We can talk about this one that I have and one that you have, because we have that's the one that I'm talking about, the Feeding Our Future, right?
Mm-hmm. At least we got one of them that was right. There's so many now, as it turns out.
Multiple.
Could throw a fucking dart against the wall and just pick one.
Yeah, so Feeding Our Future, there are 47 people that are being indicted. 47 people were charged across 6 separate indictments based on 3 criminal investigations with charges including conspiracy, wire fraud, money laundering, and bribery. So these people defrauded a food aid program for children who don't have food, right? The Feeding Our Future organization, the government alleged, set up more than 250 bogus federal child nutrition program sites around Minnesota and collected money while falsely claiming to be serving food to children. The scheme also, it is alleged, includes shell companies, bogus documents, and fake names, which prosecutors say were generated from a website called listofrandomnames.com. They're literally fucking fake names. They're literally fucking fake names that they used.
Oh.
Yeah, it also alleges that employees of Feeding Our Future solicited and received bribes and kickbacks for individual and companies sponsored by Feeding Our Future. So they're double dipping out here.
That's healthy.
This was a brazen scheme of staggering proportions. This is from the U.S. Attorney in Minnesota. These defendants exploited a program designed to provide nutritious food to needy children during the COVID-19 pandemic. Instead, they prioritized their own greed, stealing more than $250 million in federal funds to purchase luxury cars, houses, jewelry, and coastal resort property abroad. I commend the work of the skilled investigators and prosecutors who unravel the lies, deception, and mountains of false documents to bring this complex case to light.
Man.
Yeah.
I wonder how long it takes to do that and how somebody gets flagged for something like that. You know, how do they even start looking?
Enough fake names, you know?
Yeah. Just go, you know, who visited the fakenames.com, list of fakenames.com in the last, 2 years.
The website is no longer up, by the way.
Oh.
That site is currently down with an error message that says, we are currently undergoing an upgrade. The site will return soon. Thank you for your patience and sorry for the inconvenience.
That's bad. Because people that write fiction and stuff like that use stuff like that all the time to come up with random names because, sometimes it's hard to pull a name out of your ass.
Right. So the food fraud is maybe a little darker morally because the aid was meant for hungry kids, right?
Yeah.
It's fucked up on one level that you stole money that was already stolen from people to begin with. You are reverse Robin Hooding the whole thing. You're just stealing shit that was already stolen from other people.
Robbing the rich to give to me.
Yeah. It was a big topic during COVID, the number of kids that were facing what they're called food insecurity, right? And how many kids rely on school lunches for a consistent meal. And these people did all of the work to pretend that they were good people and they were actually pieces of shit at the same time because they're just stealing money to put in their own to buy cars and houses and shit like that. They're like, yeah, we're feeding mad kids out here.
That's so fucked up, dude.
Multiple locations.
That is so fucked up.
Yeah, and you have another story for this, yeah?
Yes, this one here also, because they're out of Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
This is also out of Minneapolis, I believe. Let's pull this one up. McFarah Hassan defended her work feeding needy children. Prosecutors now accuse her of buying a Tesla and other goods with money intended for those kids.
Fuck yeah.
This one is a little bit more gray because she did do some work, but also decided to take a big chunk off the top to, take care of herself too. More than a dozen family members and supporters showed up at the federal courthouse in downtown Minneapolis Thursday morning to support McFarah Hassan as she appeared in court dressed in neon green jailhouse clothing. To many of them, she was a respected leader in the local Oramo community, but to authorities, she's one of dozens of suspects in an alleged $250 million embezzlement and federal food aid funds. One supporter spoke highly of her. She's left an amazing legacy in our community. She's a role model, the youth look up to her, the women look up to her. She's just an amazing leader. A day after federal agents raided more than 15 properties earlier this year in an opening salvo of what is now the largest COVID relief fraud in the nation, McFarah told Hassan Journal that her nonprofit was above board and that she welcomed scrutiny. The FBI was investigating several organizations like hers for alleged falsely reporting that they serve meals to a large number of low-income children in order to receive federal money to subsidize that food. Mixed with nonprofit, Miss Hope's is headquarters in Shamsia Hopes is headquartered in Brooklyn Center, which is also home to the local FBI office. Bad move there. Prosecutors this week painted a starkly different picture of McVeigh, accusing the Shakopee woman of trying to flee the country on a one-way ticket to Ethiopia. She was booked into local county jail on Tuesday, the same day her flight was scheduled to take off from Minneapolis, St. Paul.
She tried to dip, huh?
She almost got away with it.
Try to dip, huh?
It was also the same day U.S. Attorney Drew Luger announced charges against 47 other defendants in the food aid investigation. So yeah, this is another one that she got accused. So they locked her up because they don't. And this one sounds like it's actually going to be more of a court battle because she also did do the thing that she said she was going to do. Just took a
not all the way.
Just took a lot off the top, I guess. So that one's going to have to be litigated in court. But it's not a good move that she tried to bail out of the country. That everyone's innocent until proven guilty. But fuck, that don't look good. That's fucked up, man. Because these are all
the needy children.
Yeah, stealing from the needy children. It's not good. I mean, in her defense, other 501c3 charities do this shit all the time, way above board. They just do it with privately gathered money instead of government money. So, and they get away with it all the time, giving themselves $1 million salaries and putting 5% of the overall company proceeds to actually doing the mission of their so-called charity work.
Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, word. That's a great organization for an example there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've misappropriated all sorts of funds.
Couple houses out here.
Couple few big old mansions.
Marxist as fuck, right?
Oh, yeah. More for me and none for thee.
So let's talk about Donald Trump, right? We'll talk about this tax fraud. So we've talked about these allegations before, but in a different context. That was when the district court was going after him, right, for the tax fraud. I mean, that's still going on, yeah?
Oh, yeah. They're all still going on.
Yeah, the tax fraud, the district court tax fraud is still going on, but within the last week, the Attorney General for New York, right? That's what it is. Letitia James.
Yes.
She announced a civil case against Donald Trump and his children for the same thing, for these allegations of tax fraud in which he would apply for a loan and inflate the value of his assets and then file his taxes and deflate the value of his assets so that he could take a loss and then come out on top of all the things, right? So we've heard this same thing before, but now it's a civil case from Letitia James. And I was interested in listening to commentary talk about it, right? Because the...
Pause button real quick. Do you remember when we did the New York Times article about his dad?
Donald Trump's dad
doing essentially the same exact thing. It all has to do with property value assessments and who does that, how they're legitimized, and then who's willing to loan money on those examples.
Right.
Sorry, commentary.
No, 100%. So commentary was talking about how for the civil case, Letitia James is going to have to prove that someone was done harm because of this. That is an interesting way to go. I don't know who you're going to prove was done harm because Donald Trump lied about his taxes, right?
Yes.
That, I think, is going to be a hard thing to do. And so they were, on commentary, making the assumption that it's almost like she was just signaling to try and bring public attention to something that she hopes other people are already looking into, and if they're not, then put their feet to the flames to make them do it, or rush on it, or try harder, or whatever. Because the civil thing, I just don't see sticking. I don't know who was they're talking about. In some weird general sense, you could see the taxpayers were done harm because he's stealing from them, is not paying his fair share. But that's not going to hold in court. That's a rough case to try and make.
Yeah. When in reality, the closest you can get to like a legitimately aggrieved party would be the banking institutions that would loan the organization money. But that is also withstanding the concept that these banks and financial institutions have, they don't do their own due diligence into the assets that they're going to use as backing for the loans that they're going to give themselves. It removes all responsibility from them, which they always will do some form of assessment to make sure that whatever loans they're giving out has some kind of security backing to it, and it's up to them whether they accept the assessment of the value of the collateral in question at that point.
Right.
It's on their dime to do that. And so if that's what they did, that's what they did. And then if it turns around and then you claim the assessment on, you know, when it comes time to pay taxes, you know who does the assessment of your properties at that point? The fucking state does.
Right.
The government does. I don't have any say. There's a weird loophole you can try to, you could try to like
an appraiser.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you could question the county or the state's assessment of your property, but then that gets into a whole deal. But more or less, I have no say into how much my property is worth to the county's assessment. They update it every year, and generally speaking, it just goes up and up so they can charge you more fucking taxes. But that's on them, man. If that's what they assess the value at for his properties, that's what they assess the value at. Whatever the banks decided to accept as accessible value is what they accepted at the time. Right. It's their problem. There is no aggrieved party here to be had.
No.
But what's her name? Letitia James has been trying to do this type of shit to him for as long as possible. She said she was going to
go after Donald Trump. Yeah, that was like part of her jam.
Yeah, it's been her jam since, he showed up on the scene in any popular fashion.
Deborah says, but the banks don't suffer losses as they are making interest on the notes. 100%. And that's what we're calling. Yeah, there is no aggrieved party. There is no one who has done harm here.
Except for her. She goes, you pissed me off.
Very upset. Yes. So let's talk about the difference between these examples, right? So the first ones, and I have this under like what does this have to do with freedom and liberty? So the first ones we bring up, the PPP fraud and the food aid fraud, we bring up because these first stories to me highlight that this is the natural function of government, right? They throw endless piles of stolen money at a problem and then collect whatever fraction of it can be reclaimed at the end of it. And when it's all said and done, they're going to call it a win. We recollected this X amount of dollars from the people who defrauded you, who stole your money from you. That's what they will say to you at the end, is we reclaimed this much money, right? That's what they're doing now. They're running around saying all these people stole this much money, $250 million for this, $250 million for this. There is no doubt. Isn't that weird? It's saying that no one is watching, no one is chatting, but Deborah just said something. We definitely have people watching. Isn't it? It says there's people watching right now, but the number says 0. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's fucking YouTube.
YouTube don't give a fuck about us. So this is the natural function of government. This is how this is going to go every single time. They couldn't take a moment to talk about maybe what might be the best way to go. They couldn't have an actual discussion or a debate or a something. We're just going to open the fucking taps, and whoever gets money is who gets money. And we'll apologize at the end because it's unprecedented and we can't ask anybody anything. So this is how this will continue to go. And now they'll stand back and they'll just shrug their shoulders. Why is everything so bad? Inflation is terrible and gas costs so much. The mortgage rates are nearly 7%, but it's not our fault. We're doing everything we can. We're crushing it out here. We're cutting money off the fucking deficit out here.
Dude, we've got the best economy
payments.
Ever.
We're fucking balling right now. We're balling right now.
Joe Biden has created more jobs than any American president in fucking history.
They're lying to you. This government, any government, doesn't care about you. This is their function, to steal your money, to give it away, and then tell you that you should be happy about it. This is how this is going to work. They will devalue your currency. They will take everything they can from you, ruin the fucking assets that you have, and then still try and take more from you. This is the function of government. This is how this is going to continue to work,
it's
right?
The only thing they're good at.
Then they take somebody like Donald Trump, and I hate to defend the man because I'm not like a Donald Trump guy. We talked about this a million times. I'm not a Donald Trump guy, right? But when you victimize him all the time, when you put him in that role, there is no choice but to do this, right? So purely as an example, you take someone like...
expect us to be grateful.
You're 100%. They expect you to wipe your chin and say thank you, right? So...
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yes. So... Then they take someone like Donald Trump, who didn't steal taxpayer money, right? And this is why I want to compare and contrast these two things, right? Donald Trump did not steal taxpayer money. He adjusted fraudulently the amount of money he was going to pay in taxes, right? Taxation is theft to begin with. I'm not going to fault somebody for trying to limit the amount of money that is stolen from them by their government every single fucking year, right? There is a difference to me, demonstrable, between someone who is stealing money that has already been stolen from you and someone who is trying to limit the amount of money that is stolen from them. And instead, Donald Trump is the same type of piece of shit as these people who tried to tell the state that they were feeding children and they weren't. These are not the same thing, right? I'm not going to say that they're both on the up and up because it's probably not. He's lying about something, so it's morally questionable. But these are all subjective things anyway on what you think is right and what you think is wrong, right? I'm telling you from where I stand, if you're stealing money that's already been stolen from somebody, you're a piece of shit. And if you're saying that you're doing it because you're feeding children, you're a double piece of shit, right? And if you are actively trying to limit, I don't care what your fucking name is, what business you own, what business you don't have, how much money you have. If you are doing what you can to lower and limit the amount of money that the state steals from you, I will slap you the high five all fucking day. Yeah. I don't give a shit. That doesn't matter to me. They're stealing money from you and everybody else in this fucking country. Taxation is theft. They're stealing your money. I don't care about that.
Nope. No, I'm there for it, man. I'm there for it. And think about the amount of money, too, they're going to cost this family. You know, the Trumps have the money to burn, obviously, but
maybe.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Maybe. It doesn't sound necessarily like they do.
I mean, yeah, they might be, I don't know.
He has some money, but no, it doesn't sound like anyone really knows how much money he has.
That's true.
His campaign has a fuckload of money.
Yep.
How much money does Donald Trump have?
Yeah, because, you know, this is a way, essentially, he's operated his entire life, was he operates in the red.
Trusts
based off of, you know, assessed value of what he owns, right? The businesses and stuff, because then
his apartments and things.
If your net worth due to, you know, your non-liquid assets is worth $500 million, right? Then any bank is going to loan you X amount of dollars based off of the fact that if you for some reason didn't pay, they have non-liquid assets that they could repossess and take into their own and recoup their losses. Right. And he is essentially, since the 80s, operated in that realm. And this is the way a lot of those fucking kind of more shady end businesses do. They operate off of that kind of, you know, and then they buy and they sell other companies. And they make slight profits on them. And then they pay back the loans. They do this. They do that.
Take losses. Yeah.
You know, and then when sometimes the bill collectors come to call, you know, the banks come calling and stuff. There's legal things that you can get, you know, involved in the courts. You invest a bunch of money in lawyers to slow things down. Then boom, all of a sudden you're liquid over here again, and you do this, and then you pay those guys off, and then this goes away and that goes away. I mean, it's a whole really strange, like, knife's edge way to live your fucking life, but
it's because all this is fake. All these numbers are fucking fake. None of this is real anymore.
It's all just ones and zeros in buildings and businesses.
That's why it can be done this way. It says, anyone calculated the amount of money Donald Trump lost serving his country for 4 years? So for sure,
at least what, $1 million? Because of 250,000 per year?
No, it's 400. It's 400 grand a year.
So at least 18.
Yeah.
19,
so Yeah. So somewhere around 18, because it's like 4.5 or something like that. So somewhere around 1.8 million of just salary that he chose to donate to whatever charity it was that he was donating all the salary to. And you know, one can only speculate as to how different his businesses would have gone were he running them full time versus being in the White House full time. So who knows? But for certain, you know, $1.8 million, because that's the amount of money he turned down as a salary. So that's why we bring up these things. And when it comes, one last note on Donald Trump, I don't fault him for trying to pay as little as possible on their tax, right? I fault the government for being so greedy and bloated that they need to squeeze every penny they can out of every taxpayer, regardless of how much money they make every year.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter how much money you're already paying in taxes. We're still going to get just, let's see if we can get a little bit more, you know? Just, it's horrific. Because they're already, even if they tell you, if you make $20,000 a year, like, well, you don't have to file your income tax because you don't make that much money. You're still paying sales tax every year. If you live somewhere where you're paying other taxes, you're still paying tax all the fucking time. You're buying gas. Everything you buy still has taxes included into it. You're still paying taxes.
Every penny that is exchanged between one thing to another, you are paying some form of tax on it somewhere, whether it's in your car, driving around, whether it's buying and selling things, whether it's getting in your paycheck, or if you're writing checks as a business, or if you're just operating a business. I mean, anything. The government is always stealing money from your pocket consistently,
every turn.
And then once a year, you know, and you might get back a pittance of what it is that you've input into the system at some point, and then you feel all happy about it, and you go buy a TV and you do all this shit because, I got a tax return. But realistically, it's a pittance of what you've put into the system at this point, what they have stolen out of your pocket. under threat of imprisonment
before you even get it.
Yes, 100%. And honestly, like I said, I do not fault any business owner or any rich person or anything like that in lowering the amount of money they have stolen from them in any way possible. Well, it's whether or not it's keeping money here or moving it offshore. Like, I don't, if you really wanted to have broad public like sentiment towards like having that be like a really bad concept socially, like, you would need to make this tax system incredibly equitable, if you will, and transparent and fair to the point where everybody feels like everybody understands what the taxes would be. You know what I mean? Like the simplest version of this would be like a flat tax, right? If everybody, no matter what happened, just had to pay 10% of any money they made at all, period, people would understand that, and then you could be more upset at Jeff Bezos for not paying his 10%.
Right.
But you have no concept of what Jeff Bezos's tax liabilities are and why, because the tax code could literally fill this house 10 times over. Nobody understands that, so they just say you should be mad at these people, and then a certain portion of the population does, because these people are very, very rich and powerful and essentially live in a completely different world than you. But like, it's none of this shit is real. It's all just tactics. It's all just tactics to turn people against each other so that they can manipulate us more thoroughly and more easily.
Right.
That's all this is. It's all just a bunch of bullshit. Nobody should give a shit that Trump gets out of paying X amount of money in taxes.
It doesn't do anything for you whether or not he pays them. It doesn't change anything. The government is going to continue to operate. They're not going to lower their operating budget because Donald Trump paid less in taxes, right? There might be an argument if the operating budget of the government was solely based off of the amount of tax revenue that was brought in every year. Maybe. There might be an argument for it, depending on the size of the government, the way the money was being spent. There might be an argument for that. But even if you assume that that is what is happening now, which it is definitely not, right? Even if you assume that, you can't take a look at the federal government the way that it sits now and say it's perfect. There's not a thing you need to cut out of it. It is operating exactly as it is meant to be. Right?
Literally over half of the money they just spent saving people was stolen from them.
Doesn't exist. It does not exist.
No. And at this point too, like you said, I think you alluded to there for a minute, taxation makes no sense anymore.
No.
Because none of the spending that they're doing is based off of tax revenue at all.
It hasn't been for some time now.
We are tens of trillions of dollars in debt. Your taxes do not matter at all.
No, it's never been based off of that.
They just print it and go, man.
The federal government has been assuming people's debts since its creation, right? That was one of Alexander Hamilton's first ideas of the actual government was we're going to take on the debt from all of the states, so they have to be paying us money so we can have money to operate. We can have revenue going because we have money coming in all the time. And then we have some legitimacy because we have debt and we have revenue coming in to borrow money from other places so we can get shit done. Literally since its conception, because Alexander Hamilton was George Washington's Secretary of the Treasury, it's literally since the conception of the federal government, this is how it has operated. We have never balanced budget. None of that has never existed. That has never existed. It has always been off of debts and repayments through taxes and other weird dealings that's going on.
Since its inception.
This makes no difference. This does not matter. All they are doing is stealing money from you.
It's funny how the Coast Guard started, because Alexander Hamilton, he started the Cutter Revenue Service, which ultimately morphed into and is absorbed and all this stuff into what became the Coast Guard. It's funny how the Coast Guard used to be a tax collection branch, essentially. Weird deal. Alexander Hamilton was not a good dude as far as
fuck you. They made a musical about him. He's
true.
Awesome.
He's awesome. Also, I didn't realize he was black.
Alexander Hamilton.
Right. Just kidding.
Everyone's Mexican and black in there. Don't you know everybody was a minority back then?
I've seen I've seen like clips from Hamilton. It actually looks pretty good.
I've never actually, I like a good
musical, to be honest. And I don't know. I just don't get a lot of them in these days. But from everything I've heard, even from people that are like John Podhorns, he says it's
supposed to be very good.
It's supposed to be
Yes.
very good.
I only talk shit about Hamilton himself, not the musical, because like I said, I've never seen it. So.
Yeah, and I hear only good things.
Yeah, and
about
it's all done in rapping and shit. It's supposed to be very good. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
And there's a movie that Dax is into right now. It's called Vivo. That is about.
I have heard of this.
It's an animated movie on Netflix that is about a kinkajou that is friends with an old man, and they do music together. The kinkajou performs for people in Cuba, and
I really like this word.
The kinkajou.
I want to know what this animal.
It's
looks
a
like.
monkey. It's a type of monkey. It's a small monkey, the kinkajou. And
Isn't that how you spell it?
no,
So, there we go.
it's pretty close. But
Oh my god, I love those things.
yeah, so Vivo is a kinkajou, and he wears a fedora and sings, and the old man gets invited to rejoin VIVO, it is called. And Lin-Manuel Miranda plays Vivo. And he also writes all of the songs. So the songs are super fucking catchy. You know, they're super crazy catchy because he writes all the music. And so, yeah. So that's the old man, and that's the Vivo, obviously. That's like the beginning part. They're singing in the...
Man, they really churched up the kinkajou, man. He don't look nearly as ugly as he does in real
No,
life.
he's super cute.
Oh, that little buddy.
He pals up with this girl who's like the great niece of the old man that he's with, because the old man gets invited to Florida to perform with his old partner that he's like in love with and whatever, and then dies like the day before he's gonna go. And so Vivo accompanies this young girl, and
Oh, that's good.
and the young girl, she lives in Miami, so he goes with the girl to Miami to the place to give the song to the woman.
Nice.
So it's all about their journey there, getting lost in the Everglades and whatnot.
This is a lot of sweet Latino music.
Yeah. Like I said, all the music is super catchy because he wrote all of it, so it's very well written, and it's all very well performed.
Very cool.
And he's a good singer. He's very talented. So he's the monkey. So it's all very good. It's quality. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I like those movies,
right
man.
here.
I
Vivo.
like those movies. The last cool like animated movie I saw was Coco. Did you watch Coco?
Yeah. Coco
That was good,
Yeah,
man.
Coco was
good music too.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
was a big fan of that.
Yeah, Dax was really into Coco for a while. Around Christmas time, someone gave him a guitar for Christmas, and
Nice.
I was forced to be Ernesto de la Cruz. I mean, day in and day out. Yeah. Yes, I sang a lot of songs from Coco when we were watching that. So
That is great.
yeah,
Oh man. Well, I have one really fun fraud story to hear.
let's hear about
if you want to talk about it. This would be none other than the illustrious Brett Favre.
Oh,
And he's getting hemmed up pretty severely at this point for a fraud case involving another, might as well be the children. But
It's the same deal.
It's the same
You're
deal.
kind
This
of a
is
piece of shit.
welfare fraud. And it all has to do with the financing of a volleyball stadium in Mississippi where his daughter is going to school because they need a new volleyball thing. And obviously he doesn't want to pay for it. So he is in tight with the governor, and so the two of them are talking. Now, former governor, I believe. And
I
so,
like Brett Favre, man.
Yeah,
That
I know,
sucks.
dude.
I don't care
It
about
was
the
a
dick
big
pics.
deal.
I don't care about any of that stuff.
But through the
on,
court
man.
filings and stuff like this at this point, text messages have been coming out. The different parties at play now are trying to kind of turn against each other, and so they're releasing, sections of text messages.
Let's
and
just get the forensics report, okay?
Yeah,
because
exactly,
apparently
right?
that's where all the juicy deets are.
That's what we need. And it doesn't look good for Mr. Brett Favre. Doesn't look good for the political official involved at the time as well. But it looks as though they knowingly took advantage of welfare block grants from the federal government to the state to help fund the creation of this volleyball stadium. And then to kind of add insult to injury, to cut costs, they were looking to see who could build it for, on the cheap. And they were looking at trying to hire prison labor to build the volleyball
come on,
stadium.
man.
Too, man.
When Crystal was saying there's text message of him like, so you're sure the media won't find out, right?
Yeah.
Like shit like that.
Yeah. So
Like, fuck,
obviously innocent until proven guilty, but
Come on, bud.
I'm not into Brett Favre anymore, man.
Come on,
John
bud.
Madden is rolling in his grave right now. He had a hard on in the grave, in the coffin for Brett Favre.
Yeah.
He used to love that guy. And everybody used to love him say, Brett Favre.
Come on,
And he did the circles and, over there. It's a sad state of affairs, but, yeah, Brett Favre stealing money from the poors. Not cool.
So the next story that we have is about the spending bill, right? The government funding bill that was just announced yesterday, I think, maybe the day before. So the
they just got it across the wire.
Yeah, out of the Senate.
I was hopeful. Government would temporarily shut down again.
The stopgap funding bill will keep the government up and running until mid-December. It's like the 16th or something, I think.
Yeah.
The backdoor deal made at the mansion during the previous one, during the Build Back Better, right? Or the Pared Down Build Back Better. Is that what it was?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
They can't call it that because that died at some point, but essentially, yeah.
Right. So the backdoor deal, the pipeline deal, and the other, it's like it has to do with verifying new infrastructure for green, right? So that was cut after Joe Manchin finally relented, said that he would take it out. So I'm interested to see how Joe Manchin is going to behave for the rest of the time that he's in office, because we don't really have shit to lose now.
Yeah, it's over now. You are done. Your party burns you because you fought back on Build Back Better, and you made it so that they couldn't get this massive, giant spending bill done. And you did that because you trusted your leadership to make a deal with you. Chuck Schumer and him made a deal so that he can get this pipeline deal going, and these certain, like, it's kind of weird. It wasn't exactly that straightforward, but more or less. And then ultimately in deliberation and through all this voting process and stuff, it didn't happen anyways. So again, Joe Manchin, part of the reason we have an incoming 87,000, 86,000 IRS agents because of Joe Manchin making this fucking deal with Chuck Schumer, who turned around and stabbed him in the back and said, actually, fuck you. Right. We're done with you, motherfucker. You try to stop a bill that I put forward, I'm going to end your fucking career now.
Right.
That's exactly what he did. It's fucking over, dude. It's the act like we're doing something bill.
Yes, exactly.
While spending all of your money.
Exactly. Backdoor deals like this are just another way that you are deceived every day by your government. They're not unique to any one particular party. This is just how these things operate. I said earlier when Deborah was talking, when we responded to her comment, every major institution hates you and wants you to die. That's
check.
That is how it is. They don't care about you. They will do whatever it is they're going to do to benefit them, and that's all that matters. So Joe Manchin might say, oh, I did it for my fucking constituents, you know? I did it for my guys. I'm trying to be down. But he's going to make money off of it. He's definitely going to make money. What?
Oh, this is so good. It's just the plot thickens, man.
Jesus.
So I just, real quick, I was curious. When is Joe Manchin's, when is his term up? His term ends, and he's up for re-election in 2024.
Nice.
Which means there's going to be a West Virginia fucking Senate seat up for bid, which he is not going to get, which means... I at this point I would severely doubt West Virginia is going to put a fucking Democrat up, but you never know. But anyways,
let's go.
That's going to be a big deal.
No,
if we survive until the 2024 election, that seat's going to be a big deal.
And I want to say, because when Joe Manchin was asked about this, he's like, oh, it's really sad that, you know, people don't care about energy independence and they want to fucking whatever. So, like, I want to say, and I'm pretty sure that Joe Manchin doesn't care about energy independence. He might, after all this stuff with Russia, he might give a shit just as an American of like, well, we should really have this squared away. But there's no parsing now with the fact that he was definitely going to make money off of this, and it was going to benefit him. Even if he's not going to directly benefit, when he's done being a senator, he's going to make money off of that.
Yeah.
So this guy's a piece of shit. The fact that the government can not only not balance a budget, right? That's horrific as it is, but they can't even pass a totally skewed one. All they have, they're just keep slapping more money because they can't even pass one that's totally fucked out of whack.
Yeah,
like they can't even agree on where to spend more money at because it grows and grows and grows every year. Like we can't get it together. Just slap a fucking Band-Aid on it and we'll move on. We'll talk about it again in 6 months. That's just not. It's fucking ridiculous, and people are down for it. They just love it so much. Like, oh, whoo! Thank God we averted another fucking last-minute shutdown, right? The fucking Mitch McConnell's out here like, at least we didn't go to the last minute. You know? Thank God. He really said that. He really says that. This is common sense bipartisan legislation, says Senate Majority. Oh, this is Chuck Schumer. Said on the floor Thursday after the upper chamber passed the bill. I'm glad we came to a timely conclusion and didn't go right up to the brink and risk a shutdown. Millions and millions of people can breathe easy knowing that we have done this in a timely way and the money to continue the government will be there. Thank fuck, right? Thank God you can continue to show up and fucking not do a goddamn thing until December, and then we can fret about it right before Christmas, right? Isn't that wonderful?
Well, and you should
9 days to Christmas, 7 days to 8 days to Christmas. I can do math. 9. Jesus fucking Christ. Now I'm thinking of my birthday. I'm like, no, it's less than that. 9 days to Christmas, and we can worry about whether or not the government is going to function, right?
And also, like, not cutting down to the wire is 11 hours to spare. That's not cutting it down to the wire.
11 hours to spare. It's not. It's very timely. Very timely. Right? Yeah. Isn't it fucking beautiful?
What that really means, though, is that they didn't have to stay up all night to do this. And then he got to go home and get his tea and watch his Matlock, although that's what Biden does. But
I didn't have to take my second fucking Vyvanse later to keep me boosted for the evening. What's in the bill? It includes $2.5 billion to aid communities devastated by natural disasters. This is on top of the money that funds the government, right?
Yes.
So don't miss it. Don't misunderstand, right? Don't miss. It is all about the drama. It is all about the deliciousness and
it's a reality TV show now.
100%.
It's a reality TV show that has 0 producers.
It's not real,
and it is put out essentially for free through fucking corporate press and network television.
So on top of the money that it costs to fund the government, which is, I mean, billions of dollars, right? It's only for 2 months, so it's billions of dollars that it costs to fund the government. So on top of that, there's $2.5 billion to aid communities devastated by natural disasters. Excuse me, $1 billion in funding a low-income home heating program because you're
can't use fossil fuels anymore.
No. That's because your energy prices are going to be so fucking expensive during December and October and the winter that you are going to have no choice if you don't make very much money but to appeal to the government to subsidize your costs. That's what that is for. Yes. Unlike the January 6th hearings that has a daytime 100%. Yeah. It's not a show at all.
And obviously that shows why the Jan 6 hearings ratings are so in the dumps, is because network television can't make TV shows to save their life anymore. So they just rely on the real world reality show that is the fucking federal government of politics.
$20 million in emergency to address the water crisis in Jackson, which has been going on for fucking a year now, and no one has done shit about it. So I'm sure $20 extra million will fix the goddamn problem. The bill also includes $12 billion in aid for Ukraine, which is totally open and it can be used for whatever they want. Yes. So that's exactly correct. For aid to Ukraine, right? That's what it says. Not for security aid, not for humanitarian aid, not for military. It's just aid to Ukraine.
This is the kind of shit that allows them to pay their bills and
allotted for whatever the government feels like Ukraine says they need the money for.
Like trying to get into NATO.
Yep. This package comes as a pivotal moment as Ukraine freedom fighters. That's probably adequate.
Oh yeah, on top of how much we've already given to Ukraine. Yeah, to the tune of, if you go back to before the actual invasion, we're probably after this 12, we're probably going to be closing in on 80 billion.
Joe
over
Biden,
the last,
the same day, did another billion just out of the White House.
Yep.
So that's 13 just in 1 week. Just in 1 week, another 13 billion.
I don't know where I heard this, but at this point, I think we just need to go with the annual subscription model of Ukraine aid, because we're going to save 10% on the back end.
Save money, absolutely.
Yeah, we might get some extra content out of it.
More videos. Starlink will open up 2 more satellites if we do that.
Yeah, just put a camera on a couple of them, Elon. Jesus, we want to see what's going on there. Because obviously we're not going to get the straight story from anybody else on the ground, so let's just get some sat views. Let's do it.
The bill also allows people are saying
what the Ukrainian
2 days ago 2 days ago there were people saying that they were already finding corpses with enlistment papers on them from the call-up. That was fucking like 5 days before that. You're telling me that in 5 days people are being strapped with weapons and moved to the front lines. I mean, I guess it's not impossible. I just don't fucking believe anything that comes out of the corporate media. It's not.
It's all hard.
They take one thing that someone said and they run with it. Like, this is definitely the truth. Even though we don't have pictures or anything else, this is definitely what's happening.
Yeah.
The bill also allows for the reauthorization of the Food and Drug Administration user fees for another 5 years, which Schumer said called vital if we want to avoid any slowdown in the review of new life-saving drugs. So I thought, that's weird. What's a user fee? So I went to the FDA website, right? User fees. What are user fees? The FDA, and this is per the FDA.gov, right? The FDA collects fees from companies that produce certain products, such as drugs and medical devices, and for some other entities, such as certain accreditation and certification bodies. Wait.
Yeah, man. You got to pay your. You got to pay
I've
your
heard about this
union dues.
before. Right. So the companies are paying you money so you can approve their drugs. That's what all these crazy people have been talking about, right? That's the misinformation that I've been hearing about. But we're going to make sure that we fund that for 5 more years.
Yes.
Fund their ability to take money.
Mm-hmm.
We need to give them money so they can take money. I'm sorry, is that what you just said? We need to give them money so they can take money from the companies that are asking them to approve their items.
Yeah.
That's totally on the up and up. It's not fucking sus at all, right?
Did you, it was last week, the 23rd of September.
It is bribery, Deborah. It is.
Yeah. And it's open and it's open and transparent for
Taxpayer
everybody to
funded
see.
bribery, actually.
Yeah. Did you happen to catch the Joe Rogan Experience episode on 23rd of September with Brigham Buller?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. He is used to be a drug dealer, like a legitimate pharmaceutical lobbyist, and would sell drugs to doctors and blah, blah, blah. He was involved in this medical field, did all this crazy shit. Now he has like a free market kind of like drug company and, lab tests and shit like that. It's kind of a cool deal what he's gotten into. But the stories he tells about the entire medical establishment and their relationship with the government is fucking dark.
Yeah.
And it'll give you some context to where that where that money goes.
And I had heard
it's fucking dark.
I had heard of this concept before, just not. I'm sure I heard the term user fee, but I just didn't immediately connect the two. So as soon as I read about this, like, oh, this is now I know we were talking about.
Yep.
So
yeah, you want anything run by us?
Yeah, so that's nice.
Just pay us.
Isn't that nice? And this second paragraph, for most major user fee programs, the FDA and industry negotiate agreements on user fees every 5 years. As part of this process, companies within the regulated industry, and then in parentheses, industry, agree to the collection of fees in exchange for commitments from the FDA to meet certain performance goals. For example, to make decisions on drug applications within a predictable timeline. So it's an expedition fee. It's just a way to expedite the process.
Yeah. How are you going to get shit to market?
To implement the agreements for the medical product user fees, Congress passes reauthorization legislation that enables the FDA to continue to collect user fees. Importantly, the outcomes of decisions the FDA makes, such as whether to approve a product, do not depend on the agency's ability to collect the user fees. The FDA's decisions are made based on science and are consistent with the legal regulatory standards that govern the agency. So they're not necessary. We're telling you that right here in the second paragraph of this whole fucking page. That we don't need them. But goddamn, are they nice?
That's right. Gotta have them.
Yeah.
Gotta fucking have them.
That's nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It's wicked fucking nice, bro.
The last thing that we have here for this segment, for part 2, is the renewed conversation about a congressional stock trading ban.
Yes.
Right? We talked about this a few months ago. There were a few different ones floating around, Josh Hawley and some other people, and now there's just kind of renewed conversation about it, right? There's pressure from a few different places because all those bills still exist. I think what Elizabeth Warren has one, and I don't know exactly which one it is that's being brought up right now. It is the bipartisan ban on congressional stock ownership act, which would still allow legislators to hold mutual funds and EFTs. The suggested penalty for violating the proposed law would be $50,000.
Oh, that's a good one right there, Deborah.
Co-sponsored by Abigail Spanberger and Chip Roy.
Yeah, and Spanberger's pissed, by the way.
Yeah.
But Deborah, did the Supreme Court just rule that these agencies do not have the ability to access fees? That only Congress has the ability to access fees. We will have to look into that.
Yeah.
I do not know. But considering the makeup of the court now, I wouldn't be surprised.
No.
But it would also, and the Congress would have no problem to do that because they love handling money. But yeah, Abigail Spanberger, she is actually officially called now for a change up in House leadership over this bill not coming to the floor before midterms. She is fucking pissed about this. And Josh Hawley, I'll give him credit because the various lists that have been created about congressmen that are making money with stock trading and shit like that, he's on that list. Almost everybody, including our good friend Dan Crenshaw, is on that list.
Almost everyone.
They're all on that fucking list, damn near. Yet they're still fighting for this piece of legislation to go through, which I think might just speak to like populist politics, maybe.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this bill that was on the table before. Breaking Point's actually did a fairly good job covering that. I give it to Crystal. She's been following this like a hawk. But even in this latest bill, I think it was broadly overreaching to an extent because it didn't just cover members of Congress being ineligible to trade.
Down to their families.
Their immediate family members and white or executive branch officials, judges, Supreme Court judges. I mean, it kind of touched everybody. But then also there was that caveat thrown in there that said that essentially anybody that has a stock portfolio and all this, you could put it into a qualified blind trust.
Right.
And then it set the precedent to what is a qualified blind trust being set by the Congress. So essentially it left the door open for all of them to continue to do what it is that they actually do. Now, I would almost take that anyways, because at least you'd get some. You wouldn't get all, obviously, but you'd get some. There'd be some kind of play to it. But either way, Pelosi she ain't having it, and so they're not going to do it, and they're not going to put it on the floor
Because she stands to lose too much money, man.
Fucking A, she does.
Yeah.
What's her husband? Her husband is a stockbroker type dude. He's an investor. That's what he does.
Better than S&P, man. He's fucking good.
Amen.
He's better than any of the top ones, bro.
The only bad trades he makes are the ones that get put into the public's eye. So he has to make bad trades on them so that he doesn't look like he's that much of a shill while he's fighting not to go to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
So this talks about this Yahoo News article I have says that, let's see, though Congress created the law, the Stock Act, to prevent insider trading and force representatives to report their trading activity, Business Insider identified 72 members of Congress who violated the act. Axios reports that violators include Rep. Susie Lee, Alan Lowenthal, and Kevin Horn. The three representatives are also part of the top 10 Congress members trading stocks.
Does it tell you what the penalty is for violating the Stock Act?
$500 or something like that.
Yeah, it's something stupid.
Yeah,
like
the new one
is
it's $200, and the new one is $1,000.
Still.
A recent in-depth analysis completed by New York Times revealed that at least 97 members of Congress have engaged in buying or selling stocks, bonds, and other financial assets that were directly affected by the committees they served on. Some of those transactions were completed by the representative, while others are reportedly the work of their spouses or dependent child. Times reports reached their conclusions by analyzing transactions from 19 to 21, from 2019 to 2021, and from a database of members' financial filings called Capital Trades. They correlated the trades with related committee assignments, hearing dates, and congressional investigations. Excuse me. According to the Times report, several legislators defended the trades by stating that a spouse or broker completed them without their knowledge or input. Two of them reported the transaction as accidental.
Accidental
I
transactions.
didn't mean to make money. It was an accident.
That's so funny.
These people do not care about you.
I like the idea of having your kids do it. The old Joe Biden model. I like that. Just have Hunter do it all. It's fine. Can't be I don't talk to my son about my business dealings.
Forbes reports that in response to February's proposal, Senator Tommy Tuberville said, "This is a free country last time I heard." The Times investigation identified Tuberville as one of the representatives who made trades that constituted a conflict of interest.
Where is the SEC on this? They're in on it too, Deborah. It's 100% insider trading, and everybody's in on it. Except for us. We're not allowed to do that. Even Martha Stewart can't get away with it, bro. That poor gal. At least that spawned, at least she got a record, and then she can hang out with Snoop and make some cool content on the internet. It's not good.
We agreed before, right, that we are not for removing people's ability to make money just because they have committed to serve the government, right? This bill, like you said, seems like it provides Congress with too much oversight of their own activity, because you shouldn't be able to decide what is and is not okay when we're looking at the ethics of a certain decision. Your view of ethics, when we are viewing your ethics, it doesn't fucking matter to me. I don't care what you think is ethical. This is about what we think is ethical of your behavior, right? It cannot possibly be this difficult to find a medium for this, right? A happy medium where people can make money and also not be a piece of shit that is taking advantage of the country, right? There's got to be a non-partisan place that you can put your money in your stocks that will still allow you to make money that you can't fucking touch or influence for the time that you're in office. That doesn't seem like it's that difficult.
I mean, people do it that work simple jobs every day. Organizations like Edward Jones, big national kind of like retirement plan handling people. All you got to do is sign over your fucking money, all your assets to these people. They will manage them for you, and you do not have access to it, period.
I have an Edward Jones agent.
I know you do.
She makes all the trades for me.
Yeah.
I just get to look.
I have a really good one, and I get to essentially be like, yeah, I want to put them in high risk, high reward, low risk, lower. You know, you get to make some choices, but they do all the managing. They do all that stuff. Why can't Congress be held to that as well? I want every congressman to once a year have to go down and see their Ed Jones, you know, outfit guy, and then they go over the reports and they say, well, what do you want to do? You want low risk? What do you want? You looking to retire? What are we doing here? I want that type of thing to happen. But again, you always run into that kind of civil liberties question of, you know, it gets problematic, but also, let's put it this way, right? There's a good
fuck you, then don't serve the government.
There's a good litmus test to be had here about essentially like the basic operations of the government. If you are in a position as a government employee, as a public servant who was like an elected representative, if you are in a position to ask yourself whether or not you're doing something that is ethical or unethical, it means you shouldn't have the power to do it. Because if the public cannot see what exactly you are doing, that should not be the remit of your job, and you should not, as a government employee or a public servant, have that power to do. If we are having these conversations about what is right and proper and allowed for them to be doing, they shouldn't have the ability to do that in that job, period. If you have to ask, you shouldn't be doing it. Doesn't seem that difficult at the end of the day. But hey,
yeah,
that's pretty simple.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah.
Every now and again, there's a thread of wisdom.
Yeah. The fact that I think the last real note that I have on this is the fact that there is so much opposition to this should tell you a lot.
Yeah.
You know, should tell you an awful lot about why those people are in government. You can make your own assumptions at that point, but there is a lot that you can surmise from this about why they are opposed to it, how much money they stand to gain, how much money they are making, how much information they have, how influential that is to the way they're making money. It's not good.
Yeah. If this is the only issue that if this is the only issue you as an elected politician have a liberty argument against, you can go fuck yourself. That's a red flag right there.
Yeah.
The only one you're making? Well, I thought this was a free country. Bitch, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
You're just saying that because now you're the one in the target.
Yeah, no,
get the fuck out of the way.
That's not good enough.
Stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid.
Using your civil liberties to defend your ability to make money when you're actively infringing on other people's civil liberties, that's not a good argument. That's not a good argument to be making.
That's the Dan Crenshaw argument.
Yes. Did you or did you not tell me that I had to stay in my house? Did you or did you not lock down the fucking government? Yeah. Did you or did you not sign off on these fucking programs that now half of the money has been stolen?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
And if you did, don't tell me that it is against your, it is a violation of your liberties to not participate in the free market.
Fuck you.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
So,
that was healthy. That was healthy.
With that, we will take our next break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes for part 3, where we'll be talking about some international issues. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Make sure that you like, subscribe, share these things here, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Peace.
To the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready.